Hi everyone. Have you ever heard of two mysterious green-skinned children who suddenly appeared in a small English village, speaking a strange language and claiming to be from a land with no sunlight? Today, we're diving into one of the strangest and most fascinating unsolved mysteries from medieval history, the Green Children of Woolpit. From forgotten wars and rare illnesses to underground worlds and even alien theories, this story has it all. So if you love mysterious legends, weird history, and tales that make you question reality, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. In the heart of medieval England, nestled among the rolling fields of Suffolk, lies a village with a secret that has baffled historians, scientists, and storytellers for centuries. This is the story of the Green Children of Woolpit. And it's one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries you've never heard of. Sometime in the 12th century, during the turbulent reign of King Stephen, two children were discovered in the village of Woolpit. A boy and a girl, who appeared normal, except for one extraordinary feature: their skin was green. Yes, green. As green as freshly cut grass. They spoke no known language, wore strange clothes, and refused to eat anything except raw beans. The boy would die soon after, but the girl would live on, and eventually reveal a story so strange, it blurs the line between folklore and fact. Who were these children? Where did they come from? Were they victims of war and famine? Suffering from disease? Or could they have come from somewhere far more mysterious, perhaps even another world? To truly understand the strange story of the Green Children, we must first travel back, way back, to the 12th century. England in the 1100s was a land divided, a country in the grip of a brutal civil war known as the Anarchy. The year was 1135. A big problem had just begun in England. The king at that time, Henry I, had died, but he had no son to take the throne after him. Normally, a king's son would become the next ruler. Henry did have a daughter named Matilda, and she was supposed to be queen. But many people in power did not want a woman to rule. Instead, a man named Stephen of Blois, who was the king's nephew, quickly claimed the crown for himself. He took control and made himself king. This started a long and terrible civil war between those who supported Stephen and those who supported Matilda. The fighting lasted for almost 20 years. During this time, the country was full of fear and violence. Powerful families took sides, soldiers attacked castles, and many villages were destroyed. People lost their homes, and some lost their lives. A writer from that time said that Christ and his saints slept, meaning it felt like even God had turned away during this dark time. Back then, England had a very strict social system, known as feudalism. This means that people were divided into different levels or classes. At the very top was the king. Below him were rich landowners called barons, who controlled large areas of land. Then came knights, who fought in battles and served the barons. There were also church leaders, who had a lot of power because religion was very important. At the very bottom were the peasants. These were regular people, farmers, workers, and their families. They lived very hard lives. Most peasants didn't own the land they worked on. Instead, they had to give part of their crops or money to the lord who owned it. They also had to follow the rules of their lord and couldn't move away without permission. Most people never traveled far from their home village. They didn't have maps or cars, and roads were unsafe. Life was simple, and people believed many things that we now know are not true. Their lives were full of superstition, which means they believed in magical or religious reasons for things that happened. For example, if there was a strange light in the sky, they thought it might be a message from God. If a child was born with an unusual appearance, it could be seen as a bad sign. Life was often dangerous. Diseases spread quickly, and there were no hospitals like we have today. Food could run out, especially if crops failed due to bad weather. Famine, a time when many people go hungry, was a real threat. War, hunger, and sickness were all common. So, when something unusual happened, like a strange comet in the sky or a person acting very differently, people didn't think of science or nature. They often believed these things were signs from God, or warnings that something bad was about to happen. This was the kind of world people lived in when the strange story of the Green Children of Woolpit began. The name Woolpit comes from the Old English words wolf pit, which mean wolf pit. This name refers to the deep animal traps once used to protect farm animals from wolves that roamed the countryside. In the 1100s, Woolpit was a small farming village in the county of Suffolk, in eastern England. The land was good for growing crops like wheat, barley, and beans. Many villagers also raised sheep, and over time, the wool from these sheep would become one of England's most valuable goods for trade. Like many villages of the time, Woolpit was very religious. At the center of the village stood the Church of St. Mary, a stone building where people prayed and gathered. The church was more than just a place of worship, it was where important village records were kept. The church leaders were usually the only ones who could read and write, and they were the ones who recorded strange or important events, like the sudden appearance of two mysterious children with green skin. Although Woolpit was small, it wasn't completely cut off from the rest of the world. It was located near a major road that connected Bury St. Edmunds and Ipswich, two important towns for trade, religion, and politics. Travelers, merchants, and religious pilgrims often passed through the area, bringing news of far-off places. However, in a time without newspapers or science, this news was often mixed with rumors and superstitions, untrue beliefs based on fear or misunderstanding. Back then, people didn't have modern knowledge about the world. Most villagers couldn't read or write. If someone got sick, they might blame it on evil spirits or demons. People from other countries or who looked different were often treated with suspicion. And if something truly strange happened, like someone being born with green skin or speaking a language no one understood, people didn't look for a scientific reason. Instead, they believed it was a sign from God or maybe even the devil. So when two green-skinned children appeared near Woolpit, the villagers didn't think of rare medical conditions or science. They thought something magical or spiritual was happening. This was a time of fear, religion, and mystery, and the arrival of the Green Children fit right into this strange world. The event was so unusual that two different writers from that time, called chroniclers, wrote it down, helping the story survive for hundreds of years. Now, let's go back to that day, the moment it all began. It was a late summer morning, hundreds of years ago. The sun had just risen over the trees in Woolpit. Villagers were starting their day, feeding animals, picking crops, and getting ready for the market. Then something unexpected happened. Two children, a boy and a girl, came out of one of the deep pits used to trap wolves. Their clothes were made of strange materials no one recognized. They didn't speak English, or any language the villagers knew. And most shocking of all, their skin was green. This might sound like a story someone made up, but it was actually written down in two important historical books by two different men. The first was William of Newborough, a church historian who lived in the 12th century. In his book The History of English Affairs, William wrote about the Green Children as a true event he had heard from reliable sources. Even though he found it hard to believe, he said he couldn't ignore so many trustworthy witnesses. In his own words, he wrote, "I am so overwhelmed by the weight of so many and such competent witnesses that I am compelled to believe, and to wonder at, what I cannot comprehend." The second was Ralph of Corksall, the leader of a monastery in Essex. He wrote about the children in his book The Chronicle of England. Ralph said he heard the story directly from Sir Richard de Carne, the nobleman who took the Green Children into his home and cared for them. Though there are minor differences between their accounts, both agree on the fundamental points. Two strange children appeared near Woolpit. They were green. They spoke no known language, and they would change the lives of everyone they encountered. The children were young. The boy was the younger of the two, around 5 or 6. The girl, a little older, perhaps 8. They wore clothes made of unfamiliar materials in strange cuts and colors. Their hair was described as slightly curled. But what captured everyone's attention was their skin. It was not the sickly green of decay or bruises, but a vivid, healthy hue, like spring leaves or fresh peas. No one had seen anything like it before. The villagers, frightened and intrigued, brought the children to the manor of Sir Richard de Carn, a local knight known for his kindness and Christian values. At first, the children refused all food. Bread, cheese, fruit, nothing could entice them. According to both William of Newborough and Ralph of Corksall, the children appeared frightened and confused, uninterested in anything the villagers offered. Days passed. The villagers feared the children might starve. But then, a simple accident revealed the first clue to their survival. It was beans, raw, freshly picked, still in their pods. The children's eyes lit up. They grabbed them with delight, opening the pods not unlike animals discovering their natural food. They devoured them ravenously. For days, the children ate nothing but beans. In a medieval diet heavy in bread and pottage, this preference was unusual, especially for children thought to be starving. But to the children, the beans seemed familiar. Perhaps they resembled the food of their homeland, or were among the few recognizable things in this strange new world. But food was only the first hurdle in their adaptation. The larger challenge lay in understanding, and being understood. When they arrived, the children spoke no known language. Not Latin. Not Anglo-Norman. Not the East Anglian dialect spoken by the villagers. Their speech was unlike anything heard in Suffolk, or anywhere else in England. They communicated with each other in their strange tongue, musical, yet unintelligible. The villagers could only guess their needs from gestures and expressions. But children adapt. And so, over time, the girl began to learn. Words came slowly at first, basic nouns and verbs. Then sentences. Then stories. As told by Ralph of Corksall, one of the early writers who recorded this story, the girl eventually learned to speak English. Her name became known as Agnes. Once she understood the language, she shared memories of where she came from and how she ended up in Woolpit. She said she came from a strange place called St. Martin's Land, named after St. Martin, a Christian saint her people worshipped. In that land, it was always twilight, a time between daylight and darkness. The sun never shone, and everyone who lived there had green skin like her and her brother. They lived peaceful lives, farming and taking care of animals. One day, while out in the fields, she and her brother heard the sound of bells. They followed the sound through what she described as a cave or tunnel. When they came out on the other side, they found themselves in a very different world, bright with sunlight and loud with strange noises. Confused and scared, they eventually ended up in one of the wolf pits outside the village of Woolpit. Sir Richard de Carn, a nobleman from the area, took them in and cared for them. At first, they didn't eat any of the local food, but over time, they adjusted. As their diet changed, their green skin started to fade. Sadly, the boy never recovered from the shock of their journey and died young. But Agnes survived and grew stronger. She was and adopted the local customs. She lived in Sir Richard's household and became part of normal village life. Later, Agnes moved away. Some stories say she married a man from King's Lynn, possibly someone who worked for King Henry II. From a very strange and mysterious beginning, Agnes managed to live a regular, even successful life. Even after many centuries, the mystery of the Green Children of Woolpit continues to spark curiosity. People still ask, who were they? Where did they come from? Why was their skin green, and why did they speak an unknown language? Over the years, many different kinds of experts, historians, scientists, folklorists, and even UFO researchers, have tried to find answers to these questions. Their theories vary from logical explanations to more imaginative ideas. One of the most realistic explanations is that the Green Children were simply human. Some historians believe they were refugee children, kids who got lost during a time of war. In the 12th century, England experienced a lot of political unrest, especially during the rule of King Stephen. Around the year 1173, just a few years before the children were said to appear in Woolpit, a rebellion broke out in the area of East Anglia. During this time, many Flemish settlers, people who came from a region called Flanders, now part of modern-day Belgium, were attacked and forced to flee. Some scholars believe the Green Children may have come from a Flemish-speaking village that was destroyed in the chaos. If that were the case, their language would have sounded completely foreign to the English villagers, which could explain why no one initially understood them. Their strange green skin might also have a natural explanation. A medical condition known in the past as green sickness, now called chlorosis. It is a type of anemia caused by iron deficiency. This condition can give the skin a pale greenish color, especially in children who are malnourished or not getting enough nutrients. According to this theory, the children's green color was a result of poor diet. After they began eating regular food in Woolpit, like beans and bread, their skin slowly returned to a normal color. This matches the old reports, which say that as the children got healthier, their green color faded. While this idea makes sense for their appearance and health, it still doesn't explain where they came from, how they ended up in Woolpit, or the strange story they told. In more modern times, especially in the 20th century, a new idea emerged. Some people who believe in aliens and UFO began to wonder if the Green Children were not from Earth at all. Their green skin, unfamiliar language, and story of coming from a twilight land reminded some people of classic alien encounter stories. One writer named Duncan Lunan even suggested that the children were accidentally teleported to Earth during a failed experiment on another planet. According to his theory, they arrived in Woolpit completely by accident and could never return home. While this idea is very imaginative and not supported by evidence, it shows how the story continues to inspire new ideas. Back in medieval times, the people of Woolpit had no science to explain what they saw. Instead, they combined Christian beliefs with folklore to make sense of the world. Some people may have thought the children were miracles. Others might have believed they were magical beings. Despite all the theories, the story of the Green Children has never been fully explained. Now, we turn it over to you. What's your theory? Were the Green Children victims of a forgotten war, survivors of a rare illness, visitors from another dimension, or even another planet? Or are they part of a powerful myth that reflects deeper truths about fear, acceptance, and wonder? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, we'd love to hear your perspective.